Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is breaking news. Donald Trump has come out and said that he is giving Iran up to 2 weeks to come up with a solution to the current crisis with Israel. Israel has no interest in ending this, so I have no idea what Iran can do. Presumably it would be a way to sign a nuclear deal or figure out something that would get the U.S. to apply pressure to Israel to stop. I would like to point out, well, I will get to that in a second. This is obviously good news in as much as, yeah, it's taco. He's tacoed it, which thank God. Everybody's been concerned. He said that he would decide within 24 hours whether or not he is going to attack Iran. He has sent a good deal of military hardware to Iran, which suggested that he was in fact going to do it. Having said that, his past pattern has always been exactly this, which is to threaten utter hellfire for the slightest transgression and then back down, making any negotiation seem far more reasonable, no matter how unreasonable it is, because his opening salvo was just so huge. So it's been a reasonably effective tactic, and we've seen him just use it time and time and time again, where he says, well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then literally at the last second, he says, well, tell you what, since I'm such a sweetheart and such a nice guy, I'll give you a little more time to think about it before I pull the trigger. And from what I can tell, he's never really been interested in pulling the trigger. So this crisis that's had a lot of people very worried, and I've been speaking with friends, and we know that a lot of Christian Zionists, Israeli nationalists have sort of said, well, this is the war in the Middle East that's going to bring about some kind of biblical revelation. We have at least a pause there, and so I think it was worth coming out to mention that at least now, instead of this 24-hour period, which was up today, Trump has extended it to 2 weeks. He has not said, by the way, the language is interesting. He said he's giving them up to 2 weeks. What that suggests to me is they have 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 weeks. And the reason is because, it's not a hard deadline, and even though he made it sound like he could cut it short at any time, what that really means is he's not interested in pulling the trigger at all if he can help it. That's how I take it. That's how Trump seems to operate. And if you think I'm wrong, let me know. Put your comments in the Discord or what you think of that. Tulsi Gabbard, meanwhile, is very much on the outs with the Trump administration, and this was something that we had wanted to discuss on our last show when we had Greg Terry, and we had a lot of fun with Greg Terry. The one downside to it is sometimes I miss a story that I wanted to bring up. Tulsi Gabbard testified earlier this year about Iran's nuclear program. According to, and now she's the National Intelligence Director, and according to her, Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. Period. End of discussion. She is the National Intelligence Director. I think she's completely unqualified and incompetent, but having said that, that's her position. That's her job. Trump says he only puts the best people in office, so if the National Intelligence Director says that they're not doing it, where's Trump getting his information that they are? Mossad? Mossad tried during the Biden administration to share proof that they were building one, and they fabricated it. The proof was from 10 years prior, and they thought Biden wouldn't notice the timestamps. Wasn't quite as obvious as there was timestamps in the metadata, and the U.S. already had copy of that exact intelligence. It was footage of Iranians trying to build a bomb, but it was from 10 years prior. We already had that. Netanyahu has been trying for quite some time to fabricate an excuse to go after Iran. I don't think he's worried about nuclear weapons because if we know, Mossad is one of the top intelligence agencies on the planet. If we know they're not building one, MI6 says they're not building one, the UN says they're not building one, Trump has decided they're building one because his buddy Bibi has told him they are. By Bibi, by the way, I mean blonde bombshell or not, Benjamin Netanyahu. So President Donald Trump dismissed the assessment of the U.S. spy agencies during an overnight flight back to Washington. I don't care what she said, he told reporters. Iran is very close to having a nuclear bomb. This is what he said when asked about her earlier intelligence briefing in February, where she claimed that they had not, in fact, been trying to build a bomb since 2002. This echoes the UN's assessment, which says that, again, since 2002, they have not been trying to make a bomb. They, in fact, were cooperating with the original nuclear deal, which Trump tanked for whatever reason. Now, he did so really illegally. Trump's job was to certify that they were following all of their requirements, which they were. They were letting inspectors into every site that they were required to. They were absolutely following everything to release sanctions. It looked like the Ayatollah was trying to move in a new direction, well aware that a young generation was coming up and possibly willing to overthrow him if he didn't make at least some forward progress towards westernization and towards increasing everybody's standard of living. So he was willing to abandon his nuclear program, and at least for the time being. Now, everyone said he could restart it. Well, he can always restart it. You don't punish countries for what they can do. And if he restarted it, we'd always know and would always still have the option on the table to drop bunker busters and utterly obliterate everything in Tehran. He can always restart it, and we can always stop him. But there was a working deal, and now there's a lot of death on both sides. And I don't think Trump really, I know Trump doesn't care. Benjamin Netanyahu certainly doesn't care. As for Tehran, Trump told Tehran to evacuate. One of the things that people are not often aware of is that we've actually, Israel and Iran have been warning the other countries of attacks before they come. The reason is they're not that interested in killing people. They are interested in destroying infrastructure. They're interested in destroying missile sites. They're interested in destroying military hardware and the infrastructure that allows them to wage war. They are not as interested in just outright killing as many people as possible, at least so far. The damages done to civilian structures thus far appear to be accidental. One structure that was hit in Israel, an apartment complex, looks like it was hit when an Iranian missile was hit by Iron Dome. The missile broke up, but the warhead was not destroyed, and the warhead fell out of the sky and landed on an apartment complex. Israel is a very tiny place. It has all of its military structures completely surrounded by apartment buildings. They're very hard to hit without there being civilian casualties. And by the way, while I say that Israel is very small, it's about the size of New Jersey, that's only kind of an excuse. It really does look like it's been constructed such that Israeli civilians are human shields. And since Netanyahu has in fact done stuff like that before, and let's not forget that as of this exact moment, 2.1 million people are being starved to death on Benjamin Netanyahu's orders. There is plenty of aid from multiple countries willing to come in, and from people within Israel. We've had on Kafir, who has said that his own aid group has been sending trucks filled with food to feed the Palestinians, and they get turned away. It's genocide. The UN had it declared as genocide until U.S. exercised its veto power and said, nope. And then when the General Assembly voted, not the Security Council, on a not a resolution, but I forget what they call it, where you can't veto it, but it also is non-binding. Every country but the U.S. and Israel said that this was genocide. So Israel has done a lot that morally it needs to reconcile and consider. That's not going to happen with Netanyahu in office. All he cares about is not going to prison. So he's going to keep the war going as long as he can. At any rate, for those of you who have been concerned, and from the people I've spoken with, that's actually a lot of people saying, you know, when we wake up tomorrow, is it going to be World War III? Well, we're still a ways away from World War III anyway, because even if we hit Iran, that's going to be condemned by a lot of people, especially by Russia. But Russia is not likely to do anything. The chance is not zero, but it's pretty close to trivial that they're going to do something. And the reason is, A, they've got their own problems. They're barely keeping up in Ukraine. They don't want to start another war on another front, and there's nobody else who really has the military strength to try to engage the U.S. So it's not going to be good. But at any rate, Tulsi Gabbard has reiterated the UN's position and the U.S.'s intelligence position and the position of every intelligence agency that's looked at this, with the exception of Mossad, who has only provided fake evidence, which suggests Mossad knows that there are no missiles, because if Mossad had any evidence that there were missiles, they wouldn't be fabricating the evidence. Nuclear weapons, sorry. So it looks like no weapons in Iran, and Trump doesn't want to hear that from his own director of national intelligence. So, and since she's telling the truth, my suspicion is, let's just say there isn't a lot of room for people who tell the truth in the Trump administration. It's strongly discouraged. It's been discouraged for a very long time. You toe the party line, you say what Trump says. So he is currently, reports are he is very upset with Tulsi Gabbard for contradicting him. She said this in February, so I don't know why he's mad at her. She didn't just say yesterday, like, no, there are no missiles there. This is just what she said in February. At any rate, Iran is nowhere near creating a missile. We know that. There we go. So, last but not least, we've included a link to Tucker Carlson. Wow, I never thought I'd say that in my life. To his channel and his interview with Ted Cruz. Now, honestly, I've seen the whole interview. It's 2 hours, so it's a long interview. Believe me, it goes by quickly. It goes by quickly. Oh, wow. I thought I was 10 minutes into it, and I was already an hour in. Wow. Both Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson are ostensibly MAGA, yet Tucker Carlson goes after Ted Cruz with a ferociousness that I've only seen him say for the most liberal of presidents. His attacks are clearly designed to be both at least a little charming, disarming, and brutal. Absolutely brutal, suggesting that Cruz is taking bribes, that he's an agent of Israel, and then laughing in his face when he tries to reply. It is, I was watching some of it on President Sunday, and someone's like, this is not an interview, this is a murder. And it was. So why would two MAGA do this to each other? Well, we've had this discussion before with Lance, but this is, I think, the ultimate expression of that, which is there is a wing of MAGA, a significant sized wing, possibly the majority, that is non-interventionist. They believe the U.S. shouldn't be involved in anything outside of the U.S. if it doesn't directly affect U.S. interests. That would include bombing Iran. So the idea that Trump is going to bomb Iran is extraordinarily offensive to a huge portion of Trump's base, which Trump is not ignorant of and may also have contributed to his willingness to add another 2 weeks and maybe another 2 weeks after that and maybe another 6 millennia after that. Who knows? At any rate, to see Ted Cruz, who has been such a staunch supporter of the MAGA movement, well, first he was against it. He was against it before he was for it, if you get my drift. But now that it's won, that's the side he's with, and both of them were starting to argue over who supports Trump more. It was sort of like siblings, slapping their hands at each other. But it was an ambush. It was really effectively pulled off, and I'm sitting there going, Tucker Carlson's not as stupid as he appears to be, and known that for a while. We've had that discussion, too, when that leaked video of him came out saying that Trump could destroy the Fox network. I was like, ooh, here's somebody who's been paying attention. Tucker Carlson's an opportunist. That's all he is. If he has any real values outside of that, this interview may help to assuage you of that notion. But at any rate, because he lied his ass off about a lot of things in that interview, including stuff he said in the past. But Cruz was no match. Cruz was outgunned, outmatched, and he was going into an ambush anyway. So I think it's worth watching. Then again, I've debated on numerous occasions. I've debated professionally, so I can appreciate it on a level that others might not. But having said that, it is the ultimate expression of a huge rift that is occurring in MAGA right now and is worth understanding. Trump may be able to heal that rift if he backs away from Iran, which is what he has now started to do. But this is also his pattern. So he may never have had any interest in it, and he'll get credit for being a genius of solving the situation in Iran without actually intervening, despite the amount of money that we've spent in sending B-2 bombers and 27 mid-air refueling tankers in that direction so that we can be prepared if we go in. So all this to say, we still don't really know what's happening, but this is a significant ratcheting down of the tension from the U.S. side. And instead of saying that there's going to be a decision in 24 hours, there's now going to be a decision in 2 weeks. There are 9 million people living in Tehran, and Trump told them to evacuate. As I said before, Israel and Iran have both been informing the others of where they're going to strike before they do it so that they can get civilians out and even their military personnel. They've been doing this regularly since it started. So when the President of the United States says Tehran better evacuate, that's 9 million people that have just been told to get out of Dodge. Now Trump's like, oh, well, who knows? I'm not sure if it's really occurred to him that he's dealing with human lives here, and when he bluffs or does whatever the hell you want to call what he's doing, it has a significant impact on people's lives. If he had just been honest and said, yeah, they're following I don't like the fact that this is a good treaty that was made by my opponent, Obama, but it's working, and if he had bothered to understand that the same way that the what was it, the trade deal for the Asian that he nixed and then realized that it wasn't a trade deal. It was to stop the Chinese from infringing on copyright without us having any ability to punish them back, because our economy alone isn't sufficient to damage the Chinese economy, which is more agile because it's a dictatorship. Well, I want to say it was TARP. It wasn't TARP. Was it the transatlantic? So somebody in the live chat's going to know. I'm going to have to go switch to the live chat and check out what people are saying. Nonetheless, Trump has shot himself in the foot and shot this whole country in the foot repeatedly out of just blunt ignorance of what's going on, which in part is understandable. He's a businessman, not a politician, and he hasn't really been keeping up with things. But having said that, that's why you hire competent people, not loyalists, but people who actually know what they're doing. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard is one of them, but in this case, she's right. Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. There's no evidence they are, and a lot of evidence they aren't. Yeah, the Trans-Pacific, yeah. It was, yeah, and the idea was to, and Trump actually got something right, which was he said this isn't a particularly good trade deal. It wasn't. But then again, it wasn't supposed to be a trade deal. It was supposed to be something that would allow us to cut off China's trade with everybody they trade with. Everybody, simultaneously, if they violate U.S. IP. That's huge. We've had no ability to do that, and this Trans-Pacific Partnership, I think that was it. The TPP, yeah, I think that was it, yeah. That deal was designed to do that, but he looks at it and says, well, we don't really get any economic benefit from this. Yeah, that's because you're not reading the fine print. And then he tried to bring it back once he realized that he couldn't tariff China into obeying. Yeah, he can't. But if he gets all, 26 countries of the TPP to do it, but he nixed that idea. So he's not a long-term thinker, this one. Anyways, yeah, 2 weeks is about as long as, it takes him 2 weeks to come up with, that's what he can do. He can do 2 weeks. So anyways, that's where we stand. Iran has hit a hospital in Israel. Israel says it has hit Iran's nuclear facilities. They've hit all the facilities except the ones that are deep underground. The U.S. is ostensibly the only country in the world capable of hitting those with bunker buster bombs, which is what they're waiting for out of the B-2s. We have said we're going to wait another 2 weeks. Iran is continuing to fire missiles and drones. They hit a hospital, and right now it looks like the attacks are still escalating. The Iron Dome system requires ammunition, and they have less than a week's worth of ammunition left. Iran, meanwhile, has, we believe, 3 months worth of missiles if they continue at this pace, missiles and drones, 3 months. Iron Dome will be gone in less than a week. So, and it's already lost some efficacy just because they've figured out how to overwhelm it, and that's what they're doing. Kafir talked to us about that. There's also multiple articles on the Discord about that. So if you want to learn about Iron Dome and what we're looking at in terms of Israel's defense, the casualties in Israel have been starting to go up, meaning it's gone from 0 to like 3 or 4 people. The casualties in Iran at last count was at 400. I suspect it's higher now. But if Iron Dome completely fails, which it will, my understanding, and this is just based on what our intelligence is telling us of, who knows, they're an ally. Maybe it's misinformation, but our understanding is they have about a week left of ammunition at the rate that the war is going. And at that point, they're going to have a very serious problem if the U.S. does not engage. So we will stay on top of that. Come join us on the Discord, and you can see the latest breaking. I also do want to check the live chat one more time. So one of the interesting things is Iran does have enough nuclear material to make a weapon, which is reasonably new. That's not something that they've had in recent. That's something that's only happened in the last couple of administrations. So that is part of the concern, is that they actually now do have the material to make it. It's getting that material that's the hardest and longest part of making a nuclear weapon. It's enriching uranium sufficiently and enough of it that you can make the bombs. It is believed that they have enough to make between 8 and 12 bombs. However, they have not been making those bombs, and that material is stored. And once it's stored, it takes a while to get, you can't just pick up uranium and move it to a facility and yada, yada, yada. Where it's stored and how it's stored is long-term storage. They are not in the process of making bombs. If they decide to make one, it does look like they are weeks away from doing it, because they just have to, put together the bomb and or delivery vehicle and get the uranium in it and so on and so forth. And that doesn't take a huge amount of time. But we would know, because we're watching them. Everybody in the world is watching them. Mossad has people on the ground in there. Now, if Mossad stopped lying about it, I'd feel more inclined to trust what they say. But, yeah, they're closer than they've ever been. But they're not getting any closer, and they've said they're not getting closer. They've asked for this to stop. Every intelligence agency that's looked at it, except for the one that's lied previously about this, has said that they're not making one, and they haven't really been making any efforts to make one since 2002. They've done everything we've asked. Not that I'm a fan of the Ayatollah by any stretch of the imagination, but I am a fan for, calling an apple an apple. Everything we have says he's telling the truth. Whether you're working with people you like or people you despise, usually the truth is the better option. Working with people and being honest about what they're doing usually encourages them to be honest about you, and you can at least work together, which unfortunately we sometimes all have to do, whether we want to or not, because we have common shared interests. U.S. engagement within 2 weeks, then. We don't know. U.S. decision on engagement within 2 weeks is what he's said. U.S. decision on engagement within 2 weeks. That's what he said. I believe in 2 weeks the decision's going to be, he's going to wait another 2 weeks. He's going to say, well, we've seen some great progress, so... let's see. Let me just quickly... All right, we got $20 from Duncan, Taco Weeks and Tuik Slava Ukrainia Heroyam Slava. Yeah, he tacoed it. He tacoed it, which thank God, really. I'm glad. I don't want to be in a war with Iran. And his own people, MAGA, is furious over this. And that Tucker Carlson has defected the way he did is huge, because Tucker Carlson, Putin, pro-Trump, I mean, just his head right up Trump's, and he eviscerates a Trump ally and does some damage to Trump over even the suggestion we would go into Iran, because they're isolationists. They don't want us intervening in any country that doesn't have a direct U.S. interest. And they are so serious about that they're actually willing to throw other MAGA under the bus for it, and eventually, and in no short order, I think, Trump. So it's a worthwhile interview. Link to the interview is in the, it's 2 hours. Like I said, we got 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes and we got an hour into it. It's insane. I'm tempted to go over it on In Time. I don't think it rises to that, but I think if you're interested, you should go check that out, because it was amazing. It was a really good insight into how well Tucker Carlson prepares for these interviews, how seriously he takes it. He's not stupid. That was an ambush, and it was really well done. I mean, you just want to watch an ambush where he's prepared for anything that Cruz could say. Where he's got, and when Cruz lands a solid one, he just laughs at Cruz. It was well done. And it's worth seeing, because that way you can just see. You can see how it's done, so when it's done to our side, you can see it. Because Cruz had a few valid points, and believe me, he came across looking like an idiot for defending very actual legit points. Tucker Carlson murdered him. So that link is there. And again, there's an issue now with Tulsi Gabbard, who did a really stupid thing in February and actually told the truth before a congressional committee, and said that Iran was not building a bomb. And now that it's inconvenient, Trump is pissed at her for saying that, especially when a reporter asks him, this is our official assessment, is that they're not building a bomb and haven't been for decades. Do you have any thoughts on that? Well, she's wrong and doesn't know what she's talking about. You're the one who made her the intelligence director. I mean, she's not qualified to do that anyway, but in this case, everybody seems to agree. So, anyways, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dunk on You, for the super chat. We really appreciate the support. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have Commander Lance McMillan downtime. We're obviously going to talk about some of this. I want to ask him sort of some of the psychology of Trump and a few other questions. But join us on the Discord too, discord.intimeshow.com, if you want to keep up with the news and see what we're doing as we're doing it. But for those of you who have been worried about the 24-hour window, which has come and gone, it has now been moved to sometime within the next 2 weeks. When you're going to attack nuclear power, it's best to be vague about how and when. So we'll see you on the Discord, and see you all tonight. Happy Juneteenth. See you all tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, with Commander Lance McMillan for downtime. Have a good night.